Hi, I'm Daniel Mader, and my topic was the Native American mascot controversy and why these teams that use them should be abolished. Cleveland Indians' Chief Wahoo logo has been the face of their franchise since 1947. However, according to David Waldstein, they will abandon this logo starting with the 2019 season. This is because of the controversy surrounding their team and other teams such as the Washington Redskins. These teams use Native American culture as their logos, mascots, names, and merchandise. Sports leagues are always having to transform to adapt to the rest of the world. A quote from Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from Birmingham jail is applicable to the need for change in rules regarding these teams and how Native Americans are treated in the United States. King says that anybody who lives inside the United States can never be considered an outsider anywhere within its bounds. Native Americans are being treated as the outsiders that King mentions. Other people forget about them, so they're being treated as if they're not a significant part of the country today, even though they still make up a good portion of the country. The 2010 U.S. Census states that 5.2 million people identified as American Indian and Alaska Native. This group of people has been mocked in the United States through sports, and experts like Carol Spindle, Michael Friedman, and Alan Sorosky have all researched the topic. After researching this controversy, I developed the research question: should the use of Native American mascots and logos be abolished in sports leagues? This research question led me to my thesis that mascots and logos portraying Native Americans should be abolished in sports leagues because of their racism and false representation. Racism against Native Americans has continued throughout the entire history of the United States. In the past, there was violent and extreme racism taking place against Native Americans. In today's world, the racism shows through a use of a racial slur and pretending to be Native Americans in sports. Vine Deloria Jr., who is a Native American activist, lawyer, and theologian, says that the racism against Native Americans people is, quote, buried so deeply in American psyche that it may be impossible to resolve, end quote. Many people tend to believe that Native Americans are a past culture. This has led to the discrimination taking place because people think it is harmless. The racism taking place has transformed over centuries in the U.S. The letter Racism in the Native American Experience describes some of the tragedies that Native Americans have had to go through. The letter says that in the past, the devastation caused by national policies of expansion and manifest destiny, fueled by racist attitudes, led to the near eradication of Native American peoples and their cultures. The author also says that in the modern world, Native Americans have had to deal with lots of poverty, unemployment, and inadequate health care. Racism in the Native American Experience gives examples that further support Deloria Jr.'s claims that the racism against Native Americans has not ended. However, the differences in these two sources are that the letter provides more examples in the past and today of how Native Americans have had struggles. Carol Spindle, a professor at the University of Illinois, further researched this topic in her book, Dancing at Halftime, Sports and the Controversy Over American Indian Mascots. Spindle includes a story where she overheard one young child say she was Indian, and another child responded saying, quote, "Indians aren't real, they're all dead." The misconception that Native Americans do not live in the country today leads many to think it is acceptable to pretend to be them. By removing or changing all of the sports teams that use Native Americans as part of their team, people could become more culturally aware of Native Americans who live in the country today. A psychological look at how Native Americans are affected by these mascots and logos shows many negative effects. Michael Friedman, a clinical psychologist, focuses on how social environment affects both physical and mental health. He found in his research that the Washington Redskins, an NFL team, quote, promotes and justifies the use of a dictionary-defined racial slur, thus increasing risk for discriminatory experiences against Native Americans. Friedman then continues by saying that the discriminatory experiences can lead to, quote, depression, substance abuse, suicidality, increased physical pain, and maladaptive health behaviors among Native American children and adults in the United States. One of the direct causes of this is how Native Americans feel when they see themselves being mocked by a performer or mascot. In order to prevent these health issues, sports leagues should be changing their teams to stop the racism. Friedman's research is supported by almost all research on the topic. For example, the National Congress of American Indians, or NCAI, has released research that builds on Friedman's. The NCAI says that suicide rates for Native American youth are highest of all ethnic groups, 18%. The NCAI's research focuses more on youth, while Friedman more directly attributes these issues to teams like the Washington Redskins. The depression and suicide rates in their community would likely go down if teams like the Redskins rebranded their team. By using the ethical lens, it is clear that the mascots and logos that mimic Native Americans are wrong. The Washington Redskins, possibly the most debated team in this controversy, have a team that has team name that's a dictionary-defined racial slur, which Friedman had mentioned in his research. Dictionary.com's definition of a Redskin is, quote, a contemptuous term used to refer to an American Indian. The term is also described as older slang, disparaging and offensive. The Redskins' name is not only racist, but outdated. Another team that has faced lots of backlash for their logo and team name is the Cleveland Indians. Joanna Schroeder, author for the Good Men Project, uses comparisons to show the racism taking place with the team. She compares the team's logo, which has since been removed, and named to the scenario if they were called the Chinamen or the Jews instead of the Indians. The team would almost certainly face more backlash if this was the case. Another way comparison could be used is the comparison of blackface to redface. Blackface, the use of black makeup by a non-black actor to play a black role, is widely regarded as racist in the U.S. However, redface is not seen by many people as offensive. Redface is the use of red makeup, clothes, feathers, and language to depict a Native American person. Felicia Fonseca of the Associated Press looked at the connections between blackface and redface, claiming that, quote, redface may get less attention because of ingrained misconceptions and feelings of entitlement to Native American culture and land. In other words, people forget that Native Americans still live in the country, so they don't see the racism in dressing up as one. By using comparisons like Schroeder and Fonseca, it is clear that there is racism in the use of Native American mascots and logos. The most frequent counterargument to abolishing these teams is the argument that the teams honor Native American culture instead of mocking it. A Washington Post poll showed that 90% of the 504 Native Americans polled were not bothered by the Washington Redskins name. To build on this, the Washington Redskins owner, Daniel Snyder, said that he believes the team means honor and respect. However, it is impossible to change the history of how the term Redskin has been used. Fans have become too attached to their teams, so they do not want to see change. Even if the Native Americans poll were not bothered by the name still targets a group of people. The poll also does not account for the Native Americans around the country who have fought for teams like the Redskins to be removed. While the motive behind these teams will never be to offend people, it is still happening. One possible solution to this controversy is to further education about Native American people in the country today. This was proposed by Ellen Starosky, who is a sports management professor at Drexel University. She suggests that the implications of this solution would raise the next generation of students to be more culturally aware of Native American people, and would also likely lead to the removal of teams like the Washington Redskins and Indians. However, the limitations of the solution it would cost a lot of money to change schools' curriculum, and it would also not put an immediate stop to the sports teams that continue to use Native American culture. Another possible solution would be for all sports leagues to rebrand the teams like the Washington Redskins or the Indians that depict Native Americans. There's already been steps forward in this, such as the NCAA's policies changing or the Indians removing their Chief Wahoo logo. The implications of rebranding these teams are that it would likely help the Native American community and the harassment against them, as well as helping them feel more accepted in the country. However, the limitations of the solution are that ticket sales for the teams will likely decrease because of angry fans. Martin Luther King Jr.'s words on citizens being outsiders in their own country is still relevant 56 years later in the fight for Native American culture to be accepted in society. Native Americans are still viewed as outsiders in their own country, and sports teams can be blamed for it. While there has been some change in these teams, there is still a significant need for transforming policies regarding Native American mascots and logos.
Daniel, thank you. Your first question, how did you handle the differing perspectives in order to reach your conclusion?
So in each of my lenses, I had different voices that were all pretty much coming to the same point that these teams should be removed, like the Redskins and the Indians. But by using they all took different routes to make the same point. So by using different, like the Michael Freeman with the psychological lens, I could help it reach my own conclusion that these teams should be abolished.
Thanks. And the second question, how does your conclusion respond to any of the other research or sources you examined?
So I think, like I was saying, like all the sources I used all tried to make the same point. So I think my research is all pretty much reflecting what each of those other people are arguing. So, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.